What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ethan, the Conscious Single Dad, and in today's video I'm going to share with you my story, my journey on how I became a single dad at 26 years old. Now in my mind that is incredibly young. I had Lincoln, I believe, when I was 23 years old. And to me, I always wanted kids and a family. Like I saw myself in my head and in my vision, I saw myself having kids when I was like 35, when I was more prepared, when I had an idea of who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and what I wanted to create in the world, and had more organization and order to my life, and really understood who I was. And so for me, being 23 years old, walking into this role of a father, and then transitioning from a father into a single father, it really shook my world. It really shook my world. And I want to share with you because most of you guys don't know my journey. Most of you guys don't know my story, and I think that there are some valuable lessons in the journey of hope, inspiration, kindness, caring, love, like acceptance, learning, so much wisdom in my experience, in my journey, just like there is yours. And I wanted to share because A, there's people that can relate. There's dads that might be in a particular same situation as me. There might be parents in the same situation. There might be single parents. Like we can all relate and take away things. So I wanted to share my journey with you so that you guys know more of me. So where do we even begin? Well, first, when I found out that I was gonna be a dad, to be honest, I was terrified. I remember the mom and I weren't together. Like the mother of Lincoln and I, Cass, we weren't together at that time. We're broken up. We're broken up, I think, for almost a month at that point. And she ends up calling me. She's like, "Hey, can we go for a drive? We gotta talk." I was like, "Okay, sure, let's go for a drive. Let's talk. What's this gonna be about, right?" It was out of the blue and out of the ordinary. So I thought there was like maybe it was us getting back together because we've been on that road or been on that train. But for the most part, I was like, "Okay, let's just go." And when we were sitting in the car and she says that, "Hey, like, I'm pregnant." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" And a part of me was absolutely terrified. A part of me was incredibly scared. A part of me was like, "No, this can't be happening. This cannot be happening to me." And I'll tell you why. Because a couple months earlier, or about a month and a half earlier, after the breakup, like I got really clear that I wanted to accomplish 4 things in my life. And those 4 goals for me were to travel to Spain and play polo and become one of the best in the world. So at the time I was still competing. I was still on the national team for Canada. I was still competing internationally in the sport of canoe polo. So I was still like in the sport. I was training all the time. I was still in that place. And now I wanted to become the best. And so I wanted to travel and play polo in Spain and move to Spain to become the best, because that's where the up and comings were. That's where the best team was growing up and training and becoming there. And I knew that I wasn't going to do it in Canada, so I had to move. And so that was one of the goals. One of my other goals was to buy a brand new boat, buy a brand new paddle kit, everything along those lines. So it's probably cost around $4,000 in total, like helmet, boat, paddle, life jacket, everything that I could possibly need when going over to Spain to play polo. The next goal was financial freedom. So I had this idea of wanting to be, or taking a step towards financial freedom, doing something, creating something that could create me passive income. And the 4th goal that I had was attend a UPW seminar, which is Unleash the Power Within with Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins. When I found out that she's like, "Hey, like I want to have a baby," I was single, I had this vision, like I literally had not the plane ticket booked, but I had my boat ordered, I had my paddle ordered, I had those things ordered and taken care of, like the deposit down, all of that stuff. I had accommodations in Europe, like in Spain. I was reaching out to like captains and people that would like run in clubs, and I was like, "Hey, can I train with you guys? Can I stay with you guys?" So I was finding accommodations and found accommodations for me to stay when I was going over there, and I had a date for when I wanted to pick and move and buy the ticket. And so like all of that was beginning to get organized and fundamentally and kind of like organized and set, so that all I'd have to do is just buy a ticket and go. Whereas financial freedom as well, like I was writing and published a book at the time. Like I was just finishing up my book for canoe polo, and I'll tag a link if you want to look at it or buy it below. So I was finishing up the book, so I accomplished that one, and the Tony Robbins ticket was bought too. And so when I found out that I was gonna be a dad, I had this idea that I wanted to be, that this is where I was going. It was so concrete. Like I knew that I was going to be leaving within a month to go and do all of these things and accomplish all of these things. And so to hear that, hey, you're gonna be a dad. When I had something like that, it shook my entire world. I was terrified, I was scared. And to be honest, there was a part of me, and it's not that I'm not proud of this. It shakes me up a little bit thinking that I was there. That I was in the space of like, okay, maybe an abortion is what we do. And I totally respect women's rights. I was like, it's all your choice. I'll support you, whatever you choose. And I was in that space. And this is where my mind kind of was going and where my mind wanted to go. Because my ego didn't want to give up this idea, this dream that I had for my life of becoming the best polo player in the world and becoming like doing all of these things on my own. And so my ego was there, and it's like, no, like don't give that up. And so I was terrified. I was like, what do I do? And I literally remember like going home after that day and looking at the wall in which I posted the 4 goals. Like they were on huge sticky note papers, huge papers. And I remember looking at the walls, and on like all 4 were written out. And I asked myself, what matters now? Because I made a promise to myself that when I was gonna become a dad, that I'd become the dad that I never kind of had. Like I had a dad, and I love my dad, and my dad's amazing. And I think that we all wish we had more connection, more love, more relationship, more moments with our dads and connected. And so I always wished that like the dad that I always wanted, I wished that I was going to be that dad. And so I knew that in that moment that I couldn't just leave. I couldn't just get up and go to Spain and travel and move on. Like a part of me wanted to do that. A part of me was literally thinking, okay, like, is it okay if I'm not in my son's life? But when I made that promise to myself earlier in my years and in my childhood, I was like it just didn't sit right. I couldn't abandon my son. I didn't want to do that to him. I didn't want to be that kind of father. And so I looked at the walls, and I just remember crying of like, fuck, like everything is changing again. And it's letting go of that idea. Like a part of me sometimes still today wishes that I did that. And that's the ego, the one that doesn't want to let go of something, the one that's like, oh, I wanted this, I want to control where my life goes. And I was crying, I was sitting there looking at the things, and I knew that buying a new boat, buying a new paddle, getting that kit, I knew that that was no longer relevant, and so I ripped it down. I knew that traveling to polo and becoming the best polo player in the world was no longer relevant. Because if I was having a son, yes, it's a great goal, but it just didn't sit with me anymore. It's not something I wanted to do. Because my life wasn't in order. I wasn't in order. I didn't understand who I was. I didn't understand what I wanted, where I wanted to go, what was my mission, what was my purpose. And so I knew that that wasn't there. So I tore those 2 down. And the only 2 goals that were left up were financial freedom, which was to publish that book and take that step, and then attend a Tony Robbins UPW seminar. And so that's what I did. I finished up the book and I got the book organized, and at the time I still didn't know if I wanted to be with Cass, the mother of Lincoln. I didn't know if I wanted to be in a relationship or if I should just fully like tackle this single dad style from the get-go, from the beginning. I had no idea, because we had a crazy messy relationship for quite some time. Like it was a gong show, and it was because I was a mess. I was so insecure. I was so like unconfident and not driven on a mission and like not knowing who I am. And that led for the relationship to be a disaster, because I was a disaster. Really, like looking back, that's what it was. I take full responsibility for my life and all of the ways in which I didn't show up. Yes, I can say that she was a disaster, but that's not the case. She's the one who can say that if she sees that. If she doesn't, awesome. That means she wasn't. But I look back and I see the disaster that I was in that relationship, and the toxicity and the toxicness that was in me. And I attended the UPW seminar, and I was like, I really want to know the answer to this question. Like, am I supposed to be with Cass? Like, this is all unfolding for me for a reason. Am I supposed to be with Cass, or am I supposed to do this on my own? And I remember there's a profound moment at the Anthony Robbins seminar, UPW, with 14,000 people. And like, we're in a freaking stadium, like, woo-hoo! Life, like learning and exploring and understanding and trying to figure out like, who are you? What are you capable of? What do you want in life? And getting motivated and connecting with other people. And there's this moment where it's the gratitude, is this beautiful gratitude experience where you're with 14,000 people, so the energy in there is so beautiful and so loving when everyone's in a state of gratitude, where you close your eyes, you put your hand on your heart, and he walks you through this guided meditation of gratitude and of love, and you're in this space of just like holy, like you're crying, you're like, whoa, like I feel so much gratitude for being alive, for living, for my life, for everything about who I am and what I've experienced and the people in my life and everything that's happening. So much gratitude. And then he asks you if you knew the answer to your, like, what is the problem that you're dealing with? Because he says that when you're in this state of gratitude, problems don't exist anymore. You know the solution, you have the solution. And so I asked myself, in this state of gratitude, do I want to be with Cass? And there was an answer that just, this voice that just landed for me that was like, love her. Love her. Love her, love her, love her, love her, love her. And I was like, holy I was like, yeah, right? So I called her. I was like, hey, yo, yeah, let's do this. Like, let's roll and let's make that happen. And let's continue on that journey. And so that's really what happened. There was some other cool things that transpired and transmuted on that journey. Like I went to Dominican Republic afterwards to soul search, and then I ended up like booking a last minute $3,000, $4,000 workshop in California that took an emergency flight to California, and then I ended up coming home. But the main like takeaway is like from that moment, it's like that's where I decided that I wanted to be with her. And so then Lincoln was coming, like, and our relationship was going great. Our relationship was going amazing. I got home from all of these seminars and being certified in coaching and life coaching and supporting people and bridging the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And I was like super lit up. I was super excited, and I was with Cass, and we're like loving. We're like, oh, it was so great and so awesome. I was so like, yeah, right. And I was like, whoa. And so I quit my job. I started like trying to build my own business. I started doing all of those things, and it was working at first, and it was going good at first. And then Lincoln was born as well. And so then there was the moments where things began to pile up, where I began to make some not great decisions in my own life that led to a huge amount of burden on me, which caused a lot of problems in our relationship, which caused a lot of problems in Lincoln's life, which caused a lot of problems and turmoil in me. And I'll share some of those. I ended up hiring a coach for over $10,000, and I put it all on a credit card. So that's something that I consciously chose to do. I consciously, after coming back from California, I knew that I needed to be in the work. I knew that I needed someone to help me, because I thought that I was still so fucking broken, even though we're not. I thought that I was in that space of like, oh, I just need so much help, and I was so vulnerable that I hired a coach for $10,000, put it all on a credit card. I quit my job, so I wasn't working as well. And so like I was like putting everything on my credit cards, like all the food for groceries, I was still like paying all of that stuff, and like rent too, I was putting it all on the credit cards and not necessarily making income and trying to build my business and trying to build this dream in which I had, in which I wanted to support people in becoming their best selves, because what I experienced from that trip was incredible. It changed my life forever, and I wanted to give people that feeling of like, hey, your life can be what you want it to be. And so I tried, and it wasn't necessarily working. I put myself in more and more debt, and it became more in scarcity. And I remember just being in such a scarcity place that I didn't know what to do anymore. And it was like a conversation with my coach where I was just crying. I was like, I can't afford to make a payment. I can't afford to make the next coaching payment. I can't afford to buy groceries. All of these things were boiling on top of me, and I never shared them once with Cass. I never shared. I withheld. I was so in so much fear and so much scarcity and so much like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I don't know. And I was like, like the world felt like it was caving in on me. And it was affecting our relationship. Like I started projecting all of my hurt, all of my pain onto her. I started to like nagging, nitpicking her, and then like poking at her and telling her that she should be better and all this stuff. But it was really just me. It was really like me just in an insecure like scarcity place. And it was like, everything was just so overwhelming that it led to me doing one of the things that I'm really good at. I was good at running away from things, because I was still running away from past hurts. I was still running away from childhood traumas. I was still running away from things that I've experienced in my life. And I didn't know how. Like I didn't know how to make it better. Like I felt like I was in such a deep hole, in such a deep place that I was no longer connecting with her. I no longer felt connected. We're arguing about everything. There's no sex life. There's no, like, all of these things began to boil, and then you throw in a child, you throw in a toddler, and I was addicted to work, and I just kept on working and working and working and working and working and working and working. I'd work like 12, 14-hour days. Like I'd leave at 7 in the morning. I'd come back at 11 by the time I finished the gym, and like I'm back at home. So it was like I was in all of these different spaces because I thought I had to, in order so that I was enough. And like I realized that I was doing all of that stuff, and at the time it was just like, it was so overwhelming that the only thing I knew how to do was to leave. And I sat with that for so long, like, do I do this? Because our relationship wasn't getting better, which was causing more stress. It was like everything in my life seemed like it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Like I was digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. And like I sat with that for a long time. I talked to mentors, I talked to people I loved. Like everyone was telling me, like, don't do it, 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 don't do it. And it felt like there was this pressure, but there was this little voice in my head, that the same one that told me love her was telling me that this wasn't right for me right now. And I've always had that little voice. Like for me, I've always had this little voice in my mind that's always led me in a direction, a beautiful direction, and a direction that tells me and shows me and kind of guides me on the path in which I should be going. It's like my intuition. And it's always led me to expressing and being more of myself, and on discovering who I am and what I really want and who I'm going to be, and leading me to experiences that teach me that. And so this voice was saying, like deep down inside, this voice was saying, it's time to go, it's time to exit, it's time to leave. And a part of me was so scared to do that because everyone around me was saying, don't do it. Don't leave. Don't follow that. And when I began to make the decision of like, hey, like this is something that I want to do, and I began like talking about it more with other people, like everyone kind of told me that that's wrong, that I shouldn't do that. Meanwhile, this voice in my mind was like, do it. And so I was still in all this I was still in the scarcity. I was still in all of these, digging myself deeper in the hole. And there's this little voice that's like Ethan, leave. And that's when I left. I left on May 17th, which is actually Mother's Day. And I moved back in with my parents. And I spent 9 months with my parents, like really diving deep and reflecting and understanding and really learning and putting myself in situations and experiences and hiring other coaches and group coaching programs to get myself and learn like who I am and what I am and what I can do in this world and who I can be, and learning and getting rid of and leaving behind the limiting beliefs of like, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not whatever the fuck they are, and all the wounding from the child, like leaving back all that and choosing something else. So for the next 9 months, I spent it literally just a deep dive, and like it was like this rebirth of me, rebirth of who I want to be, of what I am, of who I am, and understanding my body and my soul and my mind and all that kind of jazz is beautiful. And of course, like I feel like I'm in an incredibly great place right now. I'm the most like happy, I'm the most joyful, I'm also the most sad and the most like lonely and the most fearful, and all of those, like everything has been amplified, the feelings. But it's so amazing because I feel like I am such a different man than I was 2 years ago. I feel more man-like than ever. I feel more confident in myself. I feel more loving in myself. I feel like more, like there's this deep feeling that no matter what I do, I'll be successful. Like the limiting beliefs that like I'm not enough, like yeah, there's still points and times when I believe like those come up for me, and it's learning how to be in that work. And I just feel way more congruent and way more me, and way more confident that this vision that I have in my mind for my life is possible, is doable, and that I'm going to achieve it. And it's already being achieved. It's happening right here, right now, right? This is a part of it. And so looking back, would I have changed some things? Yeah, I would have changed a million things, right? Like knowing what I know now, there's a part of me that looks back and is like, dude, you could have made it happen. Like you could have made it work. You could have made that story way different with the tools and consciousness that I know now. But I did the best that I could with the tools and consciousness that I had in that moment. So looking back, of course, there's millions of things that I would change. I wouldn't hire the coach for 10 grand. I wouldn't quit my job. I'd still have a job. I'd still be making some income. I would like if I just did those two, that would relieve so much pressure. Like, I would change so many different things about myself. My workaholism, I would cut that down. I would change that. I'd look at that and be like, okay, why can't you be at home? Why can't you slow down? Why can't you be with your family? Why can't you just rest and let yourself just be here? I look at all those things and I would change all those things. I would change myself thinking about the abortion. I would change that. I would see that. Because I look at Lincoln today, and a part of me, like, it was almost like felt a little bit of guilt when I shared that. Because it's like I look at Lincoln today and it's like, how could I ever thought that? Like, I see what Lincoln is, and it's just like I thought for a moment that I didn't want you here. And that blows my mind. That almost makes me want to cry. That I was in that space, that I like look at Lincoln. And there's a part of me that could have chose him not being here. And that's something that's scary. I would have changed that, because I know now, right? Like, I know how much he has been such a blessing into my life, and I know how much he's taught me and teaching me. And I know who he's helping me become. I am so fucking blessed to have him in my life and to be a part of his journey, and that he chose me. And so, yeah, there's a million things that I would change. And at the same time, I would change none of them. Because they've made me into the man that I am today. And this is what our stories are. Our stories aren't this big, long victim, like, oh, this happened to me, I gotta live in here. No. Your story, your path has created who you are. Everything in it, even your worst moments, the worst experiences that have ever happened to you, the worst things, they've helped you become you. They're shaping and molding you into who you are. And they're for you to understand that you're so much more than those. And at the same time that those helped you experience what you don't want, so you can experience what you do want. There's so many beautiful moments back here that it's just like our stories create us. They give us meaning. They give us purpose. They give us life if we choose to look at it that way. And I hope that you can take away from this video is that, like, hey, yeah, like, look back at your story. Look back at your life, like, whoa, what's gone on? What's happened? And how did these things begin to unfold for you? Because I wouldn't change anything in my life. I would relive it again, just so I knew that I'd be the man that I am today, because I'm in love with the man that I am today. I'm passionate about the man that I am today. And there's this deep knowing and this deep love and this deep presence inside of me that I can be anyone I want to be. And that you can too. So, I hope you guys took away a lot from this video. It's one of the longer ones, but I wanted to share my journey, my story, the vulnerabilities of thinking the abortion. Like, that's something that if there's a little bit of guilt there, like, we got to talk about this. We got to share those things, because we can learn, and you guys can learn from the mistakes. Like, is it your ego that wants that? Is it your ego? Is it this idea for me that wanted to hold on to this vision of how I wanted my life to go and who I wanted to become and all of this stuff, that wanted that? Or was I willing to let go? To let go, surrender. I'm having a son. How does my life change? Surrender to it and not hold on, not control this idea, and embrace it. Because that's what it was for me. I didn't know that at the time, but now I do, and so I'm sharing so that I hope you guys can see that. If you're in that situation, if you're not, awesome. Cool. So, thank you guys for watching up to this point. Thank you guys for watching and checking out this vlog. It means a lot to me. It means a tremendous amount of me that you're here watching the story with me and learning more about me. So thank you for being here. And I want to learn more about you. Drop down something, a takeaway from you in the comments down below. Like, let me know how this video moved you. What landed for you throughout, what resonated, landed through you, for you throughout this video. Also, feel free to like and remember to subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, yo, hit that up. I'm super excited for what's to come this week because we got Linky. I don't have Linky this week, so I want to create my story and share that with you guys. And so can't wait to see my little boy and to get some more vlogs out there with him in it. And I can't wait to continue on this journey and to become a better human being every single week, every single day, every single moment. Like, even if you fall down, like, you fall down to become better. That's what it is. That's what's up. Every breakdown leads to the breakthrough. When I look at the darkest moments of my life, like that cave that I was in, that hole, digging myself deeper, I look back at that and I'm like, wow, that's given me so much strength, so much courage, so much beauty from that moment. And I'm incredibly grateful to experience that breakdown so that I can have the breakthrough, the awakening, the intellectual awakening, the spiritual awakening, whatever comes. It's beautiful. So guys, see you on the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and so much coffee and love. See you guys.